Hi there. I am Marcelin Bailey of ML Bailey Consultants, and you are live with ML Bailey Consultants. How are you doing tonight? I hope you're well. We're doing pretty good. It's been storming today, so rain came down in buckets, 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 never ending buckets. And it stormed a little bit. We had a little thunder, lightning. But now, um, all is dry. Well, it's not quite dry, but it's not raining at least. Okay. Let me get to the subject at hand. Tonight, we're talking about how I deal with difficult situations. Very often, when clients come to me, it's because they're going through some difficulty in their lives and they don't know how to deal with those situations because it's very stressful, and they can't just stop everything, stop life, and deal with that particular situation or those difficult situations that are presented to them. And so when they come to me, they're looking for a way to handle the stress of having to deal with the situation as well as the stress of having to maintain their their livelihoods. And so I thought today, as we're sharing during our Get to Know Us month, I thought that maybe I would share how I deal with difficult situations. And this is some of the things that I share with my clients as well. So, when we have a difficult situation, we know that those kinds of situations present in many different ways. First, it could be sudden, like an unexpected, like a car accident. It could be um, it could present in the form of a tense conversation, a conversation that is very tense, um, stress filled, whether that's at home or in the workplace. Also, a difficult situation could be such that it creates and maintains ongoing pressure. And so it feels like an elephant is sitting on your chest. Well, because we have a stress response that responds immediately, automatically, when we're faced with difficulties or when we're faced with situations that cause us to be fearful or situations that make us feel as if we're under threat, we immediately go into the fight or flight mode. The stress response is not something that we can control. It is not something that we can manage. It is an automatic um, physical response to a non specific stimulus. So, when we're presented with a difficult situation, basically the stress response kicks in. And because we don't have control over it, it starts making changes in our bodies. Our heart starts to beat harder and faster. Our digestive system slows down. And so we might feel nauseous or we might have butterflies in our stomachs. Our muscles tense, especially the larger muscles in our legs. So our muscles tense. Our blood pressure goes up and we might have an immediate headache all of a sudden. So when the stress response kicks in, we really don't feel good. It's an uncomfortable feeling, physical feeling that we have. So, how do we deal with a difficult situation when it initiates our stress response? Well, basically, I deal with it by trying to slow down the stress response. So, I'm going to share ways that I do it, my process for dealing with difficult situations. And although I may not be dealing with the situation itself, I am dealing with my response to the situation. So, the first thing that I do is I breathe. Breathing is the best technique for settling the stress response. When we take slow, long breaths, we actually reset the mechanisms that initiate the stress response. So, as I said just a moment ago, the stress response is a physical response to an unspecified demand that's placed upon the body. The body shifts into fight or flight mode, and as a result, our breathing becomes shallow and rapid. So, I will start to take slow, deep breaths, and I'll do that until I can return my breathing to its natural cadence. Once my breathing returns to its natural cadence, then my heart rate will slow down and return to normal. My muscles will release the tension and relax. And I can begin to feel my digestive system, my stomach settling as well. So I just start by start by breathing, because I know that once my body is in a relaxed state, then I can move to the next step. My next step is to think objectively. And thinking objectively to me means to approach the situation from an objective point of view. Of course, I acknowledge my feelings about the situation, and sometimes I have to take a moment and stew in my feelings about the situation. But once I'm done with that, I move on to focusing on the facts of the situation. I want to make sure that I'm not getting emotional, that I'm not dwelling on my feelings, but focusing on the facts. Because when I focus on the facts of the situation, I can think objectively, which is thinking logically and rationally, using analytical reasoning to try to solve the problem that I'm presented. Also, as I'm thinking objectively, I try to avoid subjective thoughts and projections, because those are just unproductive. They don't solve the problem, and they just function to elevate my stress level and to reinitiate the stress response. So I avoid subjective thoughts. And as I said before, sometimes I just have to take some time to wallow, but I do that immediately and then I move on. The third thing that I do is connected to objective thinking, and I alluded to it when I spoke of that. It's I avoid wallowing in my emotions. Um, what we don't want, and what I try to avoid when I'm dealing with a difficult situation, is fluctuating moods, fluctuating emotions, going from very emotional to not emotional, going from very feeling very depressed and sad to being having an elevated sense of myself. So we want to avoid fluctuating emotions, because again, when we're emotional, it initiates the stress response. We want to focus on dealing with the facts and maintaining stability, especially emotional stability, because um, it's just that much harder to deal with a difficult situation when we have extreme emotional fluctuations. The next thing that I do is I kind of lumped it all together, but I assess the situation objectively. I then develop a plan. And at ML Bailey Consultants, we always begin with self assessment. Our motto, one of our mottos is assess self first. So we always begin by assessing ourselves. So I'll start by assessing the situation and assessing my ability to work through the situation myself. Once I assess the situation, and my assessment again is based on the facts of the situation, I have an understanding of the situation in total and what caused it. I also am in a better position to determine what I need to alleviate the problem. From there, I can ask for help as needed, go to my support system and ask for the support I need to get through the difficult situation. So, those are the ways that I handle difficult situations. First and foremost, when I become aware of a situation, I breathe. I focus on my breathing. Then I think about the situation from an objective point of view. From there, I avoid wallowing or dwelling on my emotions, and I try to maintain an even keel and not have fluctuating emotions. And finally, I assess the situation and develop a plan to address it. So that's it for now. I hope this was helpful and I hope this answered your questions on the best way to handle a situation. You can always contact ML Bailey Consultants if you need assistance in doing just that. Also, if you want some assistance in dealing with your stress, managing your stress, and relaxing, we are the ones who can help you as well. Continue to watch our live streams. Also, continue to read our blog posts that are posted on Real Social Workers Online Magazine and happyhalfhour.club. You'll also find information on our podcast that's entitled the Side Hustle Social Worker Podcast. This is July and it's Get to Know Us month. We want you to get to know us as we're getting to know you. I'm Marcelyn Bailey. That's all for now. Have a good evening and take good care.